So Sivaprakasam Pillai asked the first question to Ramana Maharshi, who am I? And the Ramana Maharshi replies, what you are not. You are not the body, you are not the senses, etc. Right? So then Sivaprakasam Pillai asks, if I am not all this, then what am I? And the Ramana Maharshi says, when you negate all these things, what is left, that awareness, that I am. And the nature of that awareness is eternal consciousness and bliss, right? Now Sivaprakasam Pillai is asking, how will I have that realization that I am that awareness and the nature of me is eternal consciousness bliss, right? And the Ramana Maharshi says, once this world, which looks so real, once that illusion passes away, then you will have that realization that what you are, right? When the world which looks so real, that illusion passes away, then you will have that realization. So Sivaprakasam Pillai asks, will I not have any self-realization unless I take the world as real? So Ramana Maharshi says, no, it cannot be. And so Sivaprakasam Pillai asks, why? Why it cannot be? So the Ramana Maharshi says, is the world and the self is like a rope and a snake. The relationship between them is like a rope and a snake. So unless you keep seeing the snake, the reality of the rope is hidden, right? You are mistaking the rope as a snake, and if you keep believing this as a snake, the reality of the rope will be hidden from you, right? And that is what the self-realization is. You currently see it as a snake, but actually the substratum of snake is the rope. And that's why it is important that once the realization of the world it is something which is not real comes, then the realization of the self arises, right? Okay. So then Sivaprakasam Pillai is asking, when will I have that realization that the world is not real? And the Ramana Maharshi says that when the mind is quiet down, you will have that realization, right? Very interesting, very advanced, I will say. So the Ramana Maharshi is saying the relationship between the self and the world is like a rope and a snake, right? They're the same thing, but the world appears like a snake, but actually it is this rope, right? Very interesting. And the world which looks so real is not, it's the illusion. What does that mean? So first thing is, we don't need to believe anything here. We don't need to believe the world is not real and all these things. What we want to do is, we want to understand the perspective of Ramana Maharshi, right? Ramana Maharshi is somebody who is extremely respected and he's very believable. So what we want to see is what is his perspective on this subject, right? And we just want to understand his point of view. What can he mean? What can he mean that world is not real? And the rope and a snake relationship between the world and the self, right? And then when the mind is quite down, you will have the realization of this phenomena is going on, right? What does that mean? Where is he pointing it out? What is the understanding behind it, right? Okay, so the first thing is the world is not real, right? And the second thing, it is the rope which is appearing like a snake, right? Very interesting. What does it mean, like world is not real? It can mean on two levels, right? One is on the level of perception. What we are seeing outside is not real, right? One thing it can mean that. The second thing it means, like on the level of understanding, is like what we are seeing out there may not be what it looks to us internally, right? So it can be on the two level, like external world and internal world, right? So let's investigate both of them and let's see what it can mean, right? Because I don't have a really clear idea what exactly it means the world is not real, right? So let's see from the first point of view, on the level of perception, what it can mean that the world is not real. So when I'm seeing outside, everything looks so real. Not it looks real to me, but it looks real to everybody else, right? So there is something out there for sure, right, that everybody is experiencing. Otherwise, how can you say that this is not real? It looks very real. It is real, right? The thing we can understand here is that what we are experiencing from outside is experiencing through our senses, right? It is not a direct experience. There is a filter in between our senses, right? And then our senses are transforming this information and showing us, right? So let's say I have a sense for eye, right? I have a sight and I'm seeing all the different objects and colors and everything, right? Now, in terms of that sense only, if I investigate it, we can see, first of all, my sense has a limit, a range, right? I can only experience so much through this sense, right? There are more realities that I am not experiencing, like infrared and ultraviolet, and all these subtler or grosser or different spectrum altogether that I'm not experiencing, right? So I can say within the range of my sense, I am experiencing something, but there could be more, right? There could be more out of that spectrum, outside that spectrum, that might be happening which I'm not experiencing, right? So that much we can establish in terms of perception, right? There is something more, there could be something more that I'm not experiencing because my senses is a limit, right? Then we can see we have 5 senses, but it is possible there are more senses, right? So imagine if, let's say, I don't have this sense of listening, right? And if I walk in the world and if I have no sense of listening, I wouldn't know there's another reality in the world which I'm not aware of, right? The same way there could be different senses that are available to different species, different animals, right? That we just don't have, so we don't experience that aspect of the reality, right? Again, there could be more going on that we are not aware because we just don't have enough senses, right? And another interesting thing, which is now backed by the science, is what we are seeing is not really outside, right? What we are seeing is basically inside. So we are experiencing something is coming from the outside, right? But the experience is happening inside our mind, right? How is that? So for example, I am seeing something and there is some lights which are you know being transmitted through my eyes. So the light, some light is coming and my eyes are transmitting that light and changing that into some kind of electromagnetic current which is creating this image in my head, right? So even though it looks like I'm seeing something outside, which is but in reality what I'm seeing is inside, right? And the science is very well backing it up now, right? Like it looks everything is outside, but it is actually inside our mind. It can also be seen through an example of a dream, for example, right? When I'm dreaming, there's an entire world out there, right? And in reality there is no world. Actually I'm seeing everything inside my mind, right? Actually I'm seeing everything inside my brain. There is no light that is coming which is creating that image, right? So the same way we are seeing, when we are awake, we are seeing everything, we are processing all this information that is coming from outside, but we are seeing this image inside our mind, right? So we are not actually seeing what is out there. What we are seeing is what our senses are showing us, right? And the senses are the filters, right? The senses can also deceive us. We see something like, the sky is blue, but the sky is not blue. So senses can also deceive us in the sense that the information that is coming may be transformed in a way that that may not be exactly what it is, right? Very interesting. So what we are seeing on the level of perception can be questioned. Like, are we seeing exactly what is out there, or we are seeing filtered information or transformed information, right? So that can be questioned on the level of perception also. Like, maybe the world is something else, but we are perceiving something else altogether, right? And definitely what we are perceiving is within the frame of our body, within our mind itself. Another example here is generally given is that, for example, when we are dreaming, right? When we are dreaming, it looks like the dream is real, and in fact there's a person who is interacting within the dream, right? And in reality there is no dream in the sense of gross reality, right? What is happening is this whole thing is basically, we cannot say, when we are in the dream we say like, I am this person who is interacting with all these different things, right? But in reality I am the person who is creating the whole dream, right? So I am the substratum of the dream itself, right? So another way of seeing it is like that. What is being created is by me itself, even though it looks like within the dream I am this particular thing, but the whole dream is basically, in a way, can be said me, right? Because I am the one who is dreaming all the way. So another way of looking at it can be that way, that even though it looks like I am one person within the dream, but the whole dream is actually made out of myself. So this is on the level of perception. We can question it, and we cannot, if we inquire, we cannot be confidently say like, I am experiencing what is out there what is exactly out there. It could be something else that is being experienced by the senses, and it is being transformed and it is being shown to me as something else. It is a possibility. We are not saying like it is true, but it can be possible, right? It can be possible, it can be questioned, because there is a filter in between, right? So that can be one way of seeing it. On the level of perception, it could be something else and being shown as something else altogether, right? We are seeing the world which is like a snake, but actually it is like a rope, right? Okay, that is one possibility. Another one is our inner world, right? For example, uh, let's say a dog is walking outside and I like the dogs. So when I see the dog, I feel attraction, I feel, sense of happiness or something like that. Another person who doesn't like the dog, he feels repulsion or something like, anger or hatred or something like that, right? Another person who doesn't care, he just feels neutral. And the person who's feeling compassion, he feels compassionate, all these things, right? Same element outside and different reactions are happening inside to the different people, right? Because we have a different model of the world inside ourselves, right? We have created the model of the world of different with the different entities. Different entities has a different meaning for us inside ourselves, right? And that is different for everybody, right? In the reality, there is only the dog which is out there. Let's say this is like a rope which is out there, but everybody is seeing, somebody is seeing a snake, somebody is seeing, gold, or somebody is seeing something else out there, right? But in reality, it's just a neutral object that is passing by. But because of our inner world, everything looks different, right? So another way to look at it could be this, right? On the level of understanding, on the, let's say even on the level of perception, everything is at as it is. But on the level of understanding, uh, it is a rope, but which looks like a snake, right? On the level of understanding, everybody has a different uh, way of, process the information that is coming inside ourselves. Even though, if, let's say, if we assume the information is correct, this processing is different for everybody, right? Uh, so in that way, we can also see our inner world is not so real. Whatever we believe, so it looks like, yeah, dog is very attractive, but actually dog is not very attractive. It's just a neutral object, but because of our inner world, it looks attractive, right? And that inner world is false. That inner world is illusion. That inner world is something we built ourselves, right? The model. So this could be two point of view. We can see, we can question the reality of the world, that whether it is real or not. Very interesting. And then the Raman Maharshi says that if you will have that realization that the world is not real when your mind is quite down, right? So when your mind is quite down, you will see this very clearly, that the inner world is not real for sure, right? It is just something we made it up. The dog is just the dog. There is nothing attractive and unattractive about it. It's just the dog, right? So the inner world becomes, it becomes very clear that the inner world is not real, right? When your mind is quite down. But in terms of the external world, it does look real, but we can question it, we can investigate it. I think as we go forward with the book, I think it will become even more clear what exactly he means by the world is not real. But interesting thought, interesting process of inquiry. Something Raman Maharshi questions something that we will never question, like, the world is not real. And how the world could be the self itself, right? Very different kind of thinking.